For 80 years, 5 nations have ruled the world through one council. 5 nations with veto power to wage war or block peace. And now, they want Africa at the table, but only to watch. This is a new phase of global diplomacy. Invite Africa in, and then tell 1.4 billion people they still have no voice.
Of the U.S. Ambassador to the United Nations, Linda Thomas-Greenfield. Let's listen.
As it stands, there are currently 3 non-permanent seats on the Security Council allocated to African countries on a rotating basis for 2 years. The problem is these elected seats don't enable African countries to deliver the full benefit of their knowledge and voices to the work of the Council, to consistently lead on the challenges that affect all of us and disproportionately affect Africa. That is why, in addition to non-permanent memberships for African countries, the United States supports creating 2 permanent seats for Africa on the Council. It's what our African partners seek, and we believe this is what is just.
If Africa is going to become a member of the UN Security Council, a permanent member, they must have the full rights just like the other 5 members, which means they must have veto power. Inviting Africa to the table and then asking them to remain mute is an insult not only to the African leaders, but it is an insult to 1.4 billion people.
She says it's justice that the US supports 2 permanent African seats on the Security Council. But here's the catch. No veto power. No real authority. Just symbolic crumbs from a global feast they are not allowed to touch. The UN Security Council is ruled by the permanent 5. The US, UK, France, Russia, and China. These 5 nations can launch wars, block justice, and ignore the rest of the world with a single vote. They've held that power for nearly a century. But the world has changed. Power is shifting. Africa is rising. And now they want a seat without the power? That's not inclusion. It's manipulation.
1.4 billion people must be represented. The continued disrespect of the Africans has got to come to an end. So we're asking President Biden and his running mate, Kamala Harris, who I hope will be the next president of the United States, they will right this wrong once and for all. And Ambassador Thomas-Greenfield, we understand all the work that you have done. Please, as a sister, as an ambassador, we're asking you to take this issue to the finish line. Permanent positions on the UN Security Council with full veto power like the other 5 Ps.
Ambassador Arikana isn't just calling out the UN. She's calling out America. And she's not alone. Why does the US oppose giving Africa veto power? Because they know what happens when Black nations speak for themselves. Because real power, not symbolic gestures, shifts the balance of global control. This isn't dysfunction, as Ambassador Greenfield suggests. The dysfunction is already here. It is a system designed to exploit, silence, and divide. From BRICS to the African Continental Free Trade Area, Africa is no longer begging. It's building a new world order, and that doesn't need Washington's permission.
I think one of the biggest problems and challenges that we have, I often say, as Black people, not only Black people in Africa, but Black people around the world, we were defeated where it matters the most, which is the mind. I am going to say this honestly and sincerely, and some people may not like it, but it is our reality. We have African governments that have some members of the governments who are on the payrolls of foreign nations. We have Africans who are willing to be influenced, to be bought, to be paid in order to derail not only the continental agenda, but also agendas of their own country's development.
Ambassador Arikana says the problem runs deeper than policy. It's psychological. Colonization didn't just steal resources. It broke the African mind.
We have some that are on the payrolls of foreign governments, and yet they are in the government themselves. Shame on them. 2, we have some that are just scared of those who don't look like us. Again, it's part of the legacy of colonization and the legacy of slavery. We have some serious healing to do as Africans when it comes to our minds. No other man on earth in any leadership position would tolerate the abuse the Africans are tolerating, blatant abuse. So our bigger issue is the mind, our inability to fight back, our men standing up and being men like other men around the world. A lot of it has to do with some on an individual basis, greed. Others is just the mind. We're afraid of white people. We don't want to speak up in meetings because we're afraid we'll be labeled. It's the mind. At the end of the day, for me, it is the mind that was defeated. And until the mind is awoken and the mind is fearless and the mind simply says what's right is right, what is wrong, come to the United Nations, challenge the United Nations. Go to the World Bank, challenge the World Bank with facts and knowledge of what is really going on. Call these nations out. Tell them to stop the abuse, which is blatant. These nations are not trying to hide the abuse. The abuse is blatant. So to the Africans, I say, stand up, have a backbone, speak up.
Ambassador Arikana doesn't just want reform, she wants action. She's calling on African nations to boycott the UN General Assembly until real power is granted. Why keep showing up to a table that refuses to feed you? Why keep validating a system that was never meant to serve you? America has a choice. Either lead a new era of global fairness or cling to a dying empire of hypocrisy. But one thing is clear: Africa will not be silenced anymore. The UN Security Council is on trial. The world is changing, and history is watching. Drop your thoughts in the comments. Should Africa walk away from the UN until it's granted full power? Should the veto system be abolished altogether?